Welcome to Purpose Driven Sobriety. Thank you for joining the Purpose Driven Sobriety podcast. I'm Kristine. I'm an alcoholic. I want to take this opportunity to thank the Cohen Mortgage Group for sponsoring this episode. If you're in the Central Texas area, the Cohen Mortgage Group can help you with all your residential financing. We offer all the programs, all the things. So having said that, my guest today is Mr. Rick Cohen. Hello, Mr. Cohen. How are you? It's good.
I'm good. Thank you.
Good to have you here. Rick just happens to be married to me, and I wanted to, in the idea of this podcast, which has happened so quickly. This whole thing has happened so quickly, just really in the past month. I mean, it's just been, I think,
it's a God thing.
With my faith, God just, it's a good thing. So, my goal was to reach that person who is still suffering, with alcoholism and addiction, which alcoholism is an addiction. But we thought, and thank you for your support for this whole thing. I know that, in the history, so we'll be married 20 years next year, 19 this year, way too long, way too long. But your support has been just amazing. And I go down some rabbit holes sometimes, hush. You just really have been, just a crazy supporter of me when it has come to things that I feel passionate about. You basically, especially when I feel like it's from God, you step out, not as if you've gotten in the way before, but you step out of the way and you just are like, girl, get it. If that's what God's telling you, you better get after it. So I'm grateful for that. So my goal for this podcast is to tell all angles of the story of addiction, because I am, I qualify for several different recovery programs in that I am a child of an alcoholic. So I know it from a child's standpoint, but I think it's important for us to tell this to tell the story and to reach the family members that have loved ones that are suffering with this disease, because it is a family disease. And I can tell you that wholeheartedly, from the addict point of view, when you're in it, you don't see it as a family disease. Of course, we know that, addiction can be very selfish and, self-centered and what have you, but you truly think you're only doing it to yourself, right? You truly think that it's only affecting you. It's like, leave me alone. It's my body. It's my life. It's,
Well, it's a victimless.
It's like, why are you giving me such a hard time? So I didn't know, you don't know what you don't know. I mean, I know that that's cliche, but it's just true. And I didn't know how it affected the people that were in my life that I loved. And so it's important to me for you to be here, for you to share, when someone comes on the show, they share their experience, their strength, and their hope, which means we share what it was like, what happened, to change things, and what is it like now? So, Rick and I have worked together for 24 years, and like I said, next year we will be married for 20, and so we've got a history, before and after alcoholism. So I just wanted for you to just kind of tell your story and share.
Yeah, it was, we were friends for a long time. Mm-hmm. I mean, we were buddies, pals.
We were best girlfriends.
Yeah, I mean, you invited me down to Waco to meet your, the guy that you were dating, to get my opinion. That was weird. It wasn't weird at the time, but yeah, looking back, it was probably a little bit weird. Mm-hmm. But then you weren't an alcoholic. I mean, you didn't drink excessively. And we drank together. throughout my life, I was always a heavy drinker. From high school. I mean, I started drinking in high school, and when you got into the program, or when you got to the point where you were in recovery. One of our conversations, was, you were I told the counselor, you're the strongest person I've ever met. Why can't she just quit? And it was, to me at the time, it wasn't a matter of, it wasn't a disease. It wasn't an addiction. It was just a lack of will.
I remember you in that moment, and he's talking about when I mentioned in the first episode that I'd gone down to Austin Recovery.
Right,
so you'd come down for a family day, and it was you, me, and the counselor, and even at that moment, looking back, I didn't think I was an alcoholic. I wasn't convinced. I was down there to shut y'all up. And I remember the look in your eyes where you were truly inquisitive, saying, "What is the deal? Why can't she stop?" And I remember just that resolve of going, "Oh my God, is that what you think? Do you think I'm doing this of my own will?" And right then, I still didn't think I was an alcoholic. So that's what's puzzling. I didn't but I knew that was so far from the truth. So far from the truth. So I'm sorry. Go ahead.
And again, my take on it was, it was just simply a lack of will. I grew up. I played sports. And I'm kind of from that Lombardi era where you get up and you do it, and if you can't do it, it's a lack of will, and you need to figure the whole thing out. So, at the time for me, it was, and again, I've learned since then. That there is there's a switch that turns on, with alcoholics, but at the time, and I just couldn't figure it out. And it had we had gotten married, and I guess I don't know when I got to the point where I was drinking to try and control your drinking. I would drink and go, okay, it's time to stop. It's time for us not to drink anymore. This whole thing has been a journey, and it's been a the wild toad ride, for us and for me. But when you were down in Austin Recovery. It was one of those things where it was almost, for me, kind of a breath, and I remember us going to prior to that, and we didn't go to stop drinking, we went to learn how to drink.
Mm-hmm. They failed miserably.
They did,
at teaching me.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
So program. I had lost all kind of confidence in it. So when we went to the meetings, and we tried to figure out what was wrong. I had you as a as a spouse or a mate of an alcoholic, or you're going to try and fix them. I'm going to try and tell you what to do. I'm going to tell you what you're doing wrong. I'm going to tell you how to do it. And then I'm going to take all the responsibility of your actions upon myself.
But you didn't know that at the time.
No, absolutely not. I mean, that wasn't a conscious thing that you even think about. I think subconsciously, because you love the person, because you care for them. You think you're doing the right things by, cleaning the vomit off their shirt, or,
lying to the family is why we didn't show up, or
why we can't go to, why we can't come to Thanksgiving dinner, or we're, an hour and a half late, to a Sunday dinner, but that's okay. Go ahead and eat without us. We'll just get some leftovers while we're there. So, it was all this has been a huge learning curve for me. And I don't know when the switch clicked. I think it was during the Listerine era, where you had come out of recovery and I thought that everything was good, and you had you were passed out about a block and a half away, and I could see you in your car, passed out from drinking the bottle of Listerine.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not sure when, but I think that was the first time that I thought, okay, it's not about you anymore. It's about me, and I've got to take care of me. I'll be there if you need me. But I won't take the responsibility anymore for your drinking. And I think as a family member, again, you want to take that responsibility on. You want to share that person, and it's not it's enabling. That's the only way you can describe it. There was no consequences of you doing what you were doing to yourself, and I was covering it up. I was allowing it. It was all the things that you kind of take on the responsibility of being an adult raising a child. Period. I'm going to tell you what to do, and you need to do it.
Mm-hmm.
I know what's best for you. But the whole thing was I didn't realize what was best for me. And it was.
Well, you think you're loving the person, and you think
I lost
when you're
myself. I totally lost me.
But you were doing it out of love, is what I'm saying. It wasn't, and like we have a family member right now that has a child that's in an active addiction, and you can standing on the outside looking in, you can see where you could possibly love someone to death.
Oh, yeah, sure.
and that's that it's.
And that was what you were on the road of.
Mm-hmm,
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not a when you hear the word tough love, you have this connotation of kicking someone out or being mean or being strong with them and
punishing.
Yeah, that's the word.
Mm-hmm.
Where you're gonna punish them to the point where if they do this, it's kind of like training a dog. The reward kind of thing. If you do wrong, this happens. If you do good, this happens. So that's where I was at, and that's when I started trying to find out what wasn't not what was wrong with you, but what was wrong with me. On a journey of, and I call it a journey because it's still day to day
Mm-hmm.
for me. I grew. My family history was, I grew up in a very abusive household. I was told that I was never good enough. I'd never amount to anything, and for me, that spurred me to do. I'm going to show you. And
controlling your environment.
Yeah, we're talking about addiction, but alcoholism is not the only addiction. I mean, there's other addictions. There's drugs. There's food. Mine was anger.
Mm-hmm.
I was a very mean and angry person. I played ball because I could hit somebody and not get in trouble.
Mm-hmm.
And that carried over into after I got home from college, and so there was a lot of things wrong with me that there wasn't anything wrong with me in my mind, but I was gonna fix you because I knew what was wrong with you.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the loved ones of an alcoholic, you've got to let it go. The whole thing. Let go and let God. And that's one of the toughest things that you can wrap your head around. Letting go and letting God, because we're all control freaks.
It sounds like you're quitting. It sounds like you're giving up,
you're giving up.
Yeah.
You're throwing the towel.
Furthest from the truth, though.
That doesn't mean you go over into a corner and pray, and and God tells you to get up and go do this and go do this and go do this. That's not what letting go and letting God. We have to come to the realization that we have control over nothing.
Well, but you didn't come by that quickly. So hang on.
I'm still working.
Back up to March 13th, 2012, when I was passed out in the car after drinking a Sam-sized bottle of Listerine. We both had kind of spiritual experiences within that 24-hour period. So what I heard you say was you recognized in that moment, I have got to start saving myself, and because you knew you were powerless, is what I hear you saying in that moment.
Absolutely.
So is that when you called a counselor?
Yes.
That we knew that. Mm-hmm. And so you.
Well, I had gone to a counselor while you were in Austin recovery, and I remember her telling me that, if you got sober, that our relationship may not make it.
She told me the same. Later on, when I came out of there, and she said, your marriage may not survive your sobriety. And I was thinking, what the hell? And she was just like, and we drank, man, from the day we met, back in 1998. I mean, we every time we were in each other's presence, I mean, we'd grab a drink or five.
Oh, I was a serious drinker.
And so it was like, okay, oh crap, maybe I don't even know him sober. So that was the thing. So back to March 13th, 2012. So what did you do different, or was that just a resolve where you came to an understanding that you just were powerless, that what happened?
I think after that I started going to meetings. Mm-hmm. I started
in support of family members of alcoholic addicts. Mm-hmm.
We get in our world of thinking that, we're the only ones that is experiencing this.
It keeps you paralyzed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're the only ones that's experiencing this, and what are other people going to think if they find out? And you go to the meeting, you realize that you're in a room with 15 other people that. You mean it happened to you?
So did you feel like you had failed me, or did you feel like you had failed as a husband? Before that realization that you couldn't do anything about it, did you feel like you had? What was that feeling like, seeing me go down the tubes the way I was?
Lost.
Yeah.
Lost. Totally. Where did I go wrong? What could I have done different? What could I have said that would have made you stop drinking? What did I do? What did I do? What did I do? And I realized that I was saying to myself, I.
Well, and believing that you had some kind of power that you in no way, shape, or form ever could in a million years have.
Well, and
so that's torture, thinking that you can control something or do something, and that
you have power over someone else's life, and what I've realized through this journey is that one of the things that we do, we set ourselves up for disappointment. We live a life where we have milestones. When I get out of school, I'm going to be happy. When I get a job, I'm going to be happy. When I get married, I'm going to be happy. When I have
when
kids,
that person stops drinking or gets straight.
When that person stops drinking, I'm going to be happy. And those milestones, instead of looking at it and going, okay, this is my life. Let me enjoy the moment that I'm in. And but I was trying to fix you. And, again, lessons, I think my own personal opinion, one of the reasons that we don't like other people is because they're not the way that we want them to be. He wears his hair, goofy.
You don't need to be talking to anybody about hair,
is my
sir.
hair okay today?
Yeah, looks great.
But she doesn't wear the right clothes. Look at those stupid shoes. So we set those kind of things up because people don't make those little benchmarks that we set for them. And God teaches, and the hardest thing on the face of the earth, you see somebody on the side of the road that's, asking for money. Everybody judges them. I don't care who you are. Everybody judges them. Well, just go out and get a job. Well, if you didn't drink, if I give him $1, he's going to go buy alcohol with it. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So we're always trying to change people instead of looking at ourselves and changing ourselves to, number one, to liking us, being us, not trying to put people into a mold, accepting them the way that they are. And my whole thing has been, I've gotten a lot closer to God.
Well, but that didn't happen overnight. I mean, so that all sounds fine and good, but
absolutely.
But so on.
No, it's not something that happened overnight. Absolutely. And you had asked me, was there an epiphany of, when did I realize that it was all? It was a work. You go to a meeting and you look around and these people are, experiencing the same thing
from all different walks of life.
Oh,
all different ages and just.
Oh, listen, addiction has no social boundaries. Mm-hmm. It doesn't happen to the middle class or to the poor class. It doesn't happen to the upper class. It has all the pressures of success on them. It happens to everybody. And I don't think that there's anyone that can't think of someone that they know, mm-hmm. whether it's an immediate family or somebody else, that hasn't suffered some type of an addiction.
Did you feel, I mean, not necessarily for yourself, but I can't imagine that you weren't ashamed of me, but did you feel a lot of shame in that during that time?
I was ashamed of myself. You mean of you?
Well, of just, did you feel shame?
Oh, sure. And that was one of the toughest parts to get away from, But again, you get into that mode of, nobody else has experienced this. People are looking at me and pointing the finger and going, why does she drink so much? Is it because of him?
Well, I do remember you going to those meetings, and I know that I remember feeling a little bit of a panic, just thinking, oh shit, he's not focused on me anymore. I mean, it wasn't a solid, continual thought, but it was. I remember just thinking, oh crap, maybe I'm out here on my own. But so I remember on March 14th, 2012, when I had my, I had a spiritual experience, and, some of us in recovery, I jokingly say some of us have the crock pot recovery and some of us have the microwave, recovery. Mine was a microwave blow it up recovery, type of situation. Recovery is continual, but in that moment, on March 14, 2012, at approximately 11:35 a.m., I knew I was sober. I just knew I was sober.
Oh, and I remember you coming. And
I did, y'all, because I had truthfully tried, several times. Because I mean, how many times did I go through a detox?
Well,
which was a little weekend vacation.
Well, and you were in the Freeman Center. Can I say that?
Yeah.
Okay. You were in the detox center for 7 times. We had taken you down to the recovery center in Scott and White twice.
That's where I heard that was one of the people down there had said something about the mouthwash. That was the conversation that anyway. But that go back and listen to the first episode.
Oh, see, that's like being in jail and picking up tips on how to
how to make a shank, man.
Right.
But so I do remember coming home and I remember because we have been best friends long before we ever were involved. And I remember being so excited about that experience that because I had no conception of who God was. You have a different experience than that, but for me, my higher power, I choose to call God. I didn't know who told me I was worthy in that moment, but I was so excited that something had changed, and I knew it. I knew things were going to get better. I just knew it, and I came home and I told you.
I remember that. You came home and you go, I'm not
never drinking again. I'm never drinking again.
Yeah,
I'm worthy.
Not drinking anymore. And you remember my response? Okay.
Yeah, because I think maybe you had heard it once or twice before, but I mean, and keep in mind too, y'all, that when I would try to stop drinking on my own, I would have medical consequences. At one time I was going into seizures. When I went down to Austin Recovery, they had to rush me to an emergency room to give me more medicine than they are legally permitted to give in that facility because I was going to stroke out. My blood pressure was tanking. Alcohol is the only drug that you can die from the withdrawal. We didn't know that back then.
Well, yeah, we kind of did because that was the reason that we had taken you to Scott and White twice down in Temple for recovery.
Yeah, well.
Because they had to monitor you.
It was bad.
Yeah.
It was real bad.
Yeah, it was real bad.
It was real bad. Worms
under the skin and worms in your throat.
I would hallucinate, and it was really bad. So March 14, 2012, I remember. Yeah, I do remember that, and of course that moment for me, well, for both of us, I'll speak for you in that sense because you're sitting right here. That was the moment where the trajectory changed, and day by day by day, it's one of those things that, and if you're newly sober, and you have family members that are doubting you or something, God, dog, cut them some slack, man. We did some damage when we were in active addiction. We did some major damage, and you cannot expect. I didn't realize it at the time, but I was upset with you that you weren't as excited with me, But I mean, yeah. So I mean, that was really hard because that you're so just an active alcoholic addict that has stopped and is on their way into recovery. You've got to give your loved ones grace and the space to feel what they're going to feel and just focus on yourself as far as recovery goes. So from that time, so that was what it was like, and.
Well, and then the journey really started. Up until then, it was the battle. It was the war.
Mm-hmm.
And like with any battle or any war, there is damage, and there's a segment after that of starting to rebuild and reconstruct and put things back together again. And one of the things that I had concentrated on, I think, was me instead of you. Mm-hmm. And I gave you, remember the vegetable garden?
So let's have a lesson. So an alcoholic addict, I had, my oldest son had asked me at one time, Mom, when did you know you were an alcoholic? And it's like, okay, now I can pretty much go, birth. I've in my entire life, I've done things alcoholically. And if you're uneducated as far as what that means, if you got it, if you spot it, you got it kind of thing. So those of you out there that are going, oh my God, I know exactly what she's talking about. I either do everything in extreme or I don't do it at all. And so especially, I can look back now when I knew I was sober, but here's the deal. Alcohol was my solution. Alcohol allowed me to, in the moment, allowed me to feel normal. It allowed me to slow down the racing brain, to just cope, relax, because it felt like I was always just, speeding through life 90 to nothing. Now you take alcohol away,
and you're going to replace it.
Oh Lordy, because that you've now taken away my solution. You've now taken away what made me feel normal. what allowed me to live in my own skin and not want to eat a bullet. You know, I mean, you've taken that away. Not you taken away, but you know what I mean. When that has been removed, so that's why it's imperative that there is something that replaces it, which is called recovery, right? And so while you're getting recovery, sometimes you have to find things to do to keep yourself busy. So far,
occupy the time instead of laying around drunk.
So I thought in a moment, I thought, we ought to grow our own vegetables.
Well, and I remember that you getting mad at me because I was at the point in my recovery where I had put up the forms and laid it out, and you wanted me to go get the dirt to put into it, and then get the seeds to plant. And then I remember the little things at the vine.
Tomato cage.
Yes. Tomato cage.
We had to have several of those.
And I refused to do that. Yeah, that was and that was when I started learning that was what you wanted to do.
My obsession.
Yeah, that was what you wanted to do, and I'm not going to do it for you anymore. I'll help. If I'm out and I'm close to a place that sells the cages, I'll pick them up. Otherwise, if you need them and you have time, you need to go pick them up. And I still read. We have.
I can't remember. Did we ever actually grow anything?
No, absolutely not.
Okay. But that little makeshift forms and cells sat out there for a little while until
it
you
did
tore
sit
it
out there for a little while, and I absolutely refused to because it drove me crazy that it wasn't big
in the way of the lawnmower and all that mess.
And
I think my next was I learned how to make jewelry, how to make earrings and necklaces and bracelets, and it was on.
You made a ton of them.
Well, past that, I mean, it was obsessive. I think you had actually called a friend of mine in recovery and said, okay, now she's really gone off the rocker up until 4 a.m. making earrings and doing the, and if I recall, she basically said, let her be.
Right.
Let her keep that busy work, because if she's doing that, she's not drinking. So as long as she's doing something that's not detrimental like that to recovery, just let the crazy just play out and trust the process.
Yeah, and I had to learn to let that play out and
not take it personally.
Yeah,
I remember you did take it personally.
Well, that was because up until that point, it was us drinking together. And me focusing on trying to fix you. But that was, again,
because you didn't really know what recovery was either. I mean, you didn't know what was to come. You just knew drinking, not drinking.
Well, remember our conversations, through the recovery. What are we going to do now?
Oh yeah. Golly.
Who's going to be our friends?
Well, yeah.
When we go out, what are we going to do?
And we will never travel again.
We'll never travel again.
Yes, I remember where I was sitting when I had that realization that I just thought, well, we might as well just go home, board up the windows and doors, and stay inside, because we can never go the places we've gone before, because you go there to get on the beach and get all your
the all-inclusive
fruity drinks. Yes. What the hell? It wouldn't be worth the money if you're not going to take advantage of the alcohol. Right. We certainly couldn't go out to eat anymore, because every single restaurant that we loved, you have to walk right by the bar to get to the couldn't do that. I couldn't go to the grocery store ever again because of the beer and wine aisle. You can't get through. I remember going into the grocery store the first time after stopping drinking, and I was avoiding that as if there was an atomic bomb sitting in that aisle that would go off if I would like walk around. It was crazy. The things you don't know. Again, you just when you're white knuckling it. I knew I was sober, which sober means not drinking, but I was not yet in recovery. Right? Which is living a healthy life in place of alcoholic life. But yeah, I remember just thinking our lives were over with.
Yeah, and for me, knowing you, I had to let it go too. I do remember the vacation that we had after that, and we're driving back from the airport, and I looked at you and I said, "Did you have a good time?" She goes, "Yeah, it was fun." I said, "The best part of this is that we're going to remember it."
What a concept.
Yeah, we'll remember this.
Oh, because how many trips we went on that we elected not to go to the concert. We stayed in the bar, or we
opening game of Wrigley Field, and we could watch it. We made all kinds of excuses.
Mm-hmm.
We can see the game better here on this big screen than we can sitting behind the third baseline.
Yeah, that was messed up.
Yeah, that was messed up.
Well, and I tell this story and it still entertains me, which in the very moment it wasn't that entertaining, but I was only a few months sober when we went to a wedding up in Chicago, and my cousin, and we took our daughter and son-in-law with us, and we did the wedding thing, and then you had lived in Chicago, a long time ago, and loved a certain blues club, right. Jazz blues club, and you said you want to go listen to music, and I'm like, hell yeah, let's go, and Erica and Kevin wanted to go, and so we head out and we go to this place, and so we go in and we sit down. It's a really cool place, and the guys, the band people are about to start, and so the waitress comes around, and it's a bar, okay, so the waitress comes around and said, "What do you want to drink?" and Diet Coke, and of course I was still real leery about, in a place like that, them serving me accidentally alcohol. It was like, okay, so you ordered a Diet Coke, and let me back that truck up and go, you stopped drinking with me. I mean, you have not had a drop of alcohol since before I got sober. So just so you know. I
stopped in Austin recovery.
Yeah, I don't, anyway. So we're at this blues bar. And so Kevin is saying something to Erica, and so I remember knowing that he was like, yeah, I can't order a beer. I can't, and I looked at him and I said, please don't be weird. Don't be weird. That makes me feel worse. I want you to just be you.
Well, that's what starts to isolate people from being around you.
Right. If you want a drink, get a drink. Please order a drink. Just be you, please. And so he ordered a beer, and I think our daughter ordered a beer as well. And so the band started. Everything is great and fine. And so the waitress brings the drinks and sets them down in front of us. And I remember pushing my Diet Coke to you and going, please taste that and make sure it's just Diet Coke. And so within minutes, I started to cry. And I'm telling you, I was crying like a spanked child. And you looked at me, you're like, what the fuck is wrong with you? And I'm like, I don't know what's wrong. And you're like, what is wrong? And poor Kevin is just about to crawl under the table with guilt, and I'm looking at Rick just so puzzled, because I didn't know why I was crying. I didn't know, which made me even more mad that I had just said this to Kevin, and so you and I love you for this, because you have a way with me of guiding me now without insulting me, without trying to tell me what to do. But you said to me, why don't you go outside and make a phone call to call someone in my recovery program? Why don't you step outside and make that phone call? And I'm like, okay. I mean, I'm sobbing, y'all. It was so stupid, and I didn't know why I was crying. And I stepped outside and I called her, and she's like, what is wrong? And I'm like, I don't know. And she said, well, I'll wait until you're ready to tell me, calm down enough to tell me. So I cried my little eyes out for just a few minutes. She goes, okay, tell me what's happening. And I said, we're here. And then Kevin ordered a beer. And she said, oh, so maybe you're just sad because you don't feel like you're normal. And I remember just going, oh, is that all that is? I don't feel, nobody's looking at me. And she goes, well, as a matter of fact, I think she said, is everybody looking at you? And I'm like, no, they're not looking at me. She goes, oh, so it's just a feeling, and that feeling's not true. And the way she put that, I just thought, oh, okay. And so I straightened up and came right back in, and you looked at me like, what the hell just happened? And I said, I'll explain later, but don't worry, I'm fine. And like I said, poor Kevin and Erica, they've come with us on this recovery journey. And anyway, that was just one of the funny, it wasn't, like I said, it wasn't funny at the moment, but you feel like if you're in a bar or something like that, you feel like you're not normal. And see, I'm going to tell you, and we've shared this, I just turned 11 years sober last week on March 14th. And even going to a restaurant now, we could go to a restaurant right now and be sitting at a table. Someone's sitting at a table across the way, and they leave a half a glass of wine or a half a mixed drink in their cup, and they check out and they leave. I still look at them and go, stupid ass quitter. What's wrong with you? I don't say that out loud, but a quick thought in my brain. But that's still the alcoholic brain that I have that will never. It will, I've resigned myself to the fact that it will never go away, but I do have a program of recovery that I work, that I'm able to have that silly, crazy thought and just let it go,
Well, and
recognize it for what it is.
Yeah. You don't learn to quit drinking.
Yeah.
Just like you don't learn to be, not an enabler. You don't learn that. It's a journey, and it's a personality building. It's a growth within yourself building. Our morning starts with our time, where we get up and we make coffee, and we say maybe 2 words to each other, and we get our books and we read.
Mm-hmm. We seek whatever God. That's our quiet. So what Rick is talking about, we take our quiet time every single morning pretty much since the day I got sober. We take, and now for me it's an hour and 15 or so of just back when I first got sober. I don't like to read. I'm ADD and all that mess. It's hard for me to read and retain things and stuff. So a friend in the program had said, are you on social media? I'm like, yeah, I'm on Facebook. She said, do you post things you don't read? And I'm like, no, I don't post things I don't read. She said, well, how about you subscribe to a bunch of different things and just see what God sends you, and right. And then if you read something and you go, oh man, someone else I bet could benefit from that. She said, why don't you post it? So that was her way of getting me to read other things, and so and now it's called doing my paperwork. It always has been called doing my paperwork. So even the kids know, mom, don't call mom during, although our daughter does all the time, call during when mom's doing her paperwork. That is the time that we build our foundation to build our day on. So it's my humble belief that you have to take time in the morning to get a foundation built that's strong enough to hold up whatever that day may throw at you.
Well, a lot of people will get up and hit the ground running.
Mm-hmm. Or turn on the news.
You grab a cup of coffee, you turn on the news, you jump in the shower, you return some emails, that you immediately, get on your email and, you see what the day has to hold for you. And for me, that hour in the morning is for me and my God. And it is it's a time that it makes me feel good. It's a breath for me. Mm-hmm. It's a breath and that doesn't mean that I'm not going to have problems that day. It means that maybe, just maybe, I can handle those problems a little bit better. Because again, like we talked about earlier, it's letting go and letting God. My day starts out with, God, thank you for another day. Mm-hmm. I don't know what's going to happen, and I don't have any control over it. But give me the strength to do the things that you want me to do. And then you start. And then throughout the day, things are going to be thrown at you. and those words are going to be tested.
Mm-hmm.
So, the recovery for an alcoholic and the recovery for an enabler.
Or even just a family member.
Or a family member, is recovery is recovery. Maybe different roads, but you still have to look at it as a journey. It's not with a specific goal, and it's not something that, that you get to. It's not a start and a finish. It's a start, and then it just continues.
Well, and that's a lot of people. I love how you said that, because a lot of people will stop drinking and attend a recovery meeting or a group or something like that, and then stop going because they've stopped drinking. And I can't imagine. Oh my gosh, I can't even imagine not. I tell other friends that are in recovery, I get to work a program of recovery every single day of my life for the rest of my life. I get to do that. And I say that because I no longer want to kill myself, right? And that's huge for someone like me. There's
days that I want to kill you.
Oh, I have no doubt whatsoever. And this day ain't over. So, but to be able to live respectfully, that I respect myself. It just so happens I think other people have a respect for me now that didn't before. But that I get to have peace. And that was something that I'd never ever felt, is just a peace of being okay. I just want to be okay. I don't need to be rich. I don't need to be beautiful. I don't need to be famous. I just need to be okay. And if, as long as I'm okay, I feel like I can handle anything. And the only way I'm okay is by working a program of recovery. But you have come with me on that journey, meaning that I do know some people, alcoholic addicts, that their family member, and I'll speak about spouses, that their significant other still, I can't fathom. And this is just me. When you hear me speaking on this podcast, I speak only for myself. You'll get that.
It's
one time. But I cannot imagine having a spouse that still brought alcohol in. I just can't imagine you bringing alcohol into our house. That my house is my safe place. That's my zone where I can run from anybody, anything from the world into that safe place. And having alcohol in that house, even today, I would not be okay with it. So God bless you if you're having that. But there are some spouses that don't go with their person into recovery. And I can't imagine what that's like. I feel very, very blessed.
I can't wrap my head around. And it's not for me to judge or, point fingers at, but I can't imagine that happening, because for me, your journey and me kind of going along, not kind of, but going along with it, has helped me to grow and be a better person.
Well, because I also, as much as I did alcoholically, I did kind of recovery, at least in the beginning, alcoholically as well. Because I remember Erica our oldest daughter, having to come to you and go, you have to shut her up. Because I would go to, meetings or have certain, read certain things, and I would want to share that just because it was like an epiphany. It was like, oh my gosh, I didn't know this. Did you, did you know? And so I wanted to, so it was all with good intentions, and you knew that. And again, you were very gentle when you came, and you're like, okay, here's the deal. Would you maybe just share that stuff with me for now? And let's not, and so that, that was hard too. But yeah, you started out on that journey with me, I think, because I shoved it down your throat at first, because I did share so much,
Well, it was good for me. Because while my, I'm going to say my addiction wasn't.
Well, you said anger.
Oh, I was a very angry person.
So are you saying that you think that
No tolerance.
that a program of recovery doesn't just work for an alcoholic addict, like
absolutely not.
drugs and alcohol?
Absolutely not. I mean,
How so?
The recovery or a recovery program helps you identify yourself. Not necessarily. We have a again earlier. We look at people and we go, what's wrong with them? Rather than looking at us and going, what's wrong with us?
Mm-hmm.
And that has helped me to identify some of the things. And we go through the 12 steps that making amends and realizing that I don't have power over anything. And I was a control freak and still work on it. I'm going to tell you the right way to do it. And in business, it was always, my way or the highway. There is no other way to do it. And to get from point A to point B, you can go 100 different ways.
Mm-hmm.
So, but mine was always the right way. And I carried that from when I was a kid, because I was told that I would never amount to anything, and that I would never be successful. Into my personal life through college and being so angry and, like I said, playing ball and hitting people and not getting in trouble. But it was the recovery has been an eye-opener, and the peace and the contentment that you will experience from a journey of recovery will help you to be happier in your own skin. Everybody, we made the analogy the other day, when there's a picture taken, who's the first person that you look at?
Mm-hmm.
You don't see the other people.
Mm-hmm. And if everyone is perfect, but you're doing a face or something, or your eyes are closed or something, then the picture's terrible. It's awful. It's awful.
And it's you. And until you come to grips with that's you, and nobody really cares. They don't care if your hair was out of place or your shirt was, wrinkled, or because they're not looking at you. They're looking at themselves.
Mm-hmm.
You pass by a mirror. Do you make that glance?
Mm-hmm.
Of course you do. Everybody does. But to realize that you're not the only one that does that makes it okay. Because we have a tendency to think, well, I'm the only one that really does that. I'm the only one that looks at myself when I'm wearing the picture and look at me. We're so judgmental of other people, or not of other people, but of ourselves, that we're gonna fix other people instead of looking at us. And that has been the most profound thing, I think, that through this journey of recovery that will continue to last until I die, getting closer, letting go, knowing that I don't have control over anything. I have no control over whether anybody will hear this or not. But if that one person hears it, that makes a difference in their life, it's all worth it.
Amen, amen, amen. Well, and I've said that all along when in starting this, that alcoholism and addiction is such an isolating disease for the family members and the alcoholic addict, and it's so full of shame and all of that.
But one of the things that I want to stress is that the recovery for an alcoholic, the people that are around them, the recovery is just as important. It's not your fault. You have to realize that you can't control it. You have to look at it and start looking at yourself and looking at making yourself happy. And we've used the analogy of, if a plane's going down, they tell you to put on your oxygen mask first. That's so that you can help others around you.
Mm-hmm. Because you're no good if you're unconscious.
Yeah.
You can't help anybody else. And the whole purpose of, in that analogy, the whole purpose of putting that on is so that you can be of service to others.
Absolutely.
because in being service to others, it saves you as well. Just so happens. Right. So what else would you want to tell if there is a husband or a wife or a significant other that has someone in active alcoholism addiction, what would you say to that person? What would you say to them?
Stop trying to fix them.
Talk to somebody.
Talk to somebody about you and your situation.
Yep.
Yeah, you can't do it alone. And don't think that you're in it by yourself, because you're not. There's hundreds of thousands, even millions of other people just like you.
And there's recovery programs for family members.
There are recovery programs for family
addicts
members
and
alcoholics. And anybody else. And it's not just isolated to alcohol. It's any addiction or any problem that you might have. The thing with Bob Newhart, if you're trying to fix somebody, stop it.
Oh, he's talking. Google Bob Newhart and the video "Stop It," and it's just kind of funny. We were laughing. What he's talking about is we were laughing about that the other night, because every now and then I'll talk to someone else that's in addiction, and they're just reeling from some topic, and they're I just don't know what to do, and it's just they're obsessing over something, and you just want to go stop it. So there's anyway. If you get a chance, Google that video, because it's really funny. But sometimes it is that simple.
Sometimes it is that simple. Other times it's not. But, we always, one of the frustrations that we have in our lives is, what if? We're always trying to figure out, we're trying to figure out the solution to a what if problem. We get up in the morning and we future trip on, this afternoon when that meeting is going to happen, what if? And we spend our time trying to fix problems that don't exist. Mm-hmm. Keep your feet in right now, in today. Don't try and fix a problem for tomorrow that doesn't exist yet. One of the things that you spend a lot of wasted time on is the what if scenario. And I call it sleeping out under the stars. The perception in our mind of what things are supposed to be like.
Expectations.
The expectations, we set ourselves up for disappointment. Always. Mm-hmm. You're going to sleep out under the stars, and it's, the stars are out, and the moon's bright, and you're going to take the sleeping bag, and you're going to sleep out under the stars, and it's going to be so cozy. And you get out there and the ground's hard and the mosquitoes are out,
And it starts raining.
And it's hot and it starts raining. So you grab your sleeping bag. How many times have we gone on vacation and come back because it was just a miserable time? Why? Because it didn't turn out the way that we had expected it to in our minds.
One of the things I heard early in recovery was high expectations equals low serenity.
Yep.
So and especially when you're placing expectations on people, that's just so unfair. And you rob yourself of whatever the experience God intends you to have in that moment. So it's like to go, well, I don't, though this is just going to take forever, or I'm not going to be able to access my cell phone during this trip, or I'm not going to, it's like, okay, no. How about just taking it one moment at a time, no expectations, and it's like, God, just show me what you're going. Show me what you want to show me.
Right.
I'm open and I'm willing, and just let go and let God, whatever's going to happen. And 100% of the time, it's better than what my expectations were.
Well, and stop trying to fix them.
Yeah.
Encourage them to get help.
Mm-hmm.
You can't take them by the hand. That old. You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. That's an alcoholic. You can't you can't make them stop drinking
or using.
Now, you have to start working on yourself. Mm-hmm. You have to stop enabling them. Don't pick them up off the floor when they pass out. Put a blanket over them. That's love.
Right.
Helping them get to bed and undressing them and putting them under the covers and tucking them in. That's enabling.
Or lying to family members, making excuses, and it's you have to own your truth. You just have to own your truth, and just like you said, recognize that you're not on an island. You are not on an island.
You're not by yourself.
There are so many other people, and that Me Too factor is so powerful when you're going through a trauma, as far as addiction, to have someone look you in your eyeballs and say, dude, I know exactly what you're going through.
We are, we lose the focus in our lives of knowing and realizing that every decision that we make, everything that we do has a consequence. And we have to let people suffer the consequences of their choices and their decisions. Mm-hmm. And you have to suffer the consequences of your choices and your decisions. So, when that finger's pointing out at somebody, there's 3 pointing back at you. Fix you first.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, I'm grateful that you agreed to do this show. You couldn't have gotten out of it if you tried anyway. So we'll just say that.
Well, I know when you told me that we were going to have an hour, and I thought, what are we going to talk about?
Yeah, he's like, well, I don't know that I have that much to talk about. And I'm like, dude, oh, sure. Yes, yeah, because we could sit here and talk for days. We could sit here and talk for days about recovery and what a beautiful life there is after addiction. Yeah, we truly feel blessed to have survived that disease and get to continue to recover together. Thank you for sponsoring
yourself.
Thank you for sponsoring the episode.
You're welcome.
Cohen Mortgage Group.
Absolutely.
I love you with all my heart, and I wouldn't take this journey with anybody else.
And I love you.
So thank you so much for listening to the Purpose Driven Sobriety Podcast, and keep coming back. Thanks for listening to Purpose Driven Sobriety. Keep coming back.